Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Peterpodcast. I'm your host, reporter Taylor Clydesdale, and with me this week is Charmaine Magumbe. Charmaine is running for council in the October municipal election in Monaghan Ward, and today we're going to be talking about affordable housing development.
So we're building these expensive homes, and if you look around now, the homes that are being built are on the higher end of at least 400,000. And if you're bringing in 42,000 as a household income, you can't afford those houses. So we need to look at one, building affordable housing, and two, how are we going to address the needs of those people who are marginalized on the streets?
And we're also going to be talking about new policies for improving transportation in Peterborough. So, hope you enjoy the show.
Oh, hi, my name is Charmaine Magumbe, and I'm running for council for Monaghan Ward for this 2018.
Yeah, why don't you explain a little bit about, what's your background, what's your experience that makes you qualified to be on council?
My experience is that I've worked a lot in the community, organizing different activities, different events. So I've also chairperson of community race relations right now as is, and I've just been very active with talking a lot about issues that are uncomfortable to speak about because I'm talking about racism, but also bring together people who want to make this city into an inclusive environment as much as possible, that people who are considered others feel safe in this community. So so basically that's where I'm coming from.
So what's that experience been like to be a part of the Committee of Race Relations and to be involved in those conversations?
It could be definitely challenging to say the least, because it is uncomfortable situation that people don't want to really talk about. But I feel as a city, those are issues that we need to deal with, that council needs to deal with, and especially looking at challenges that the city faces. And as a councillor, you need to talk about the difficult things, i.e. racism, homelessness, mental health issues, drug addiction. These are things that council needs to deal with. And by not talking about it, by saying this is not my problem, this is their problem, by sweeping it under the rug, it becomes an issue for where everybody could see it. So personally, just looking around the city, especially with what's happening as far as the homelessness is concerned, and mental health issues and drug problems, people are now seeing that it is becoming more and more of an issue in Peterborough. And as councillors, we need to talk about difficult issues and not just sweep it under the rug and say, this is not me, this is their problem.
And I feel like there's almost a temptation to, not just during an election time, but, over the course of the 4 years, to kind of focus on hard issues. You look at the housing crisis that we're dealing with right now, or you look at the capital budget and you say, what can we afford with that? And those are very kind of hard dollars and cents decisions. Whereas, when it comes to social issues like homelessness, like racism, that dialogue tends to be muddied a bit. It tends to not want to get brought up. So how do you encourage that conversation to flourish and for people to want to engage in that conversation?
Well, that's a really good point. So we really need to look at the causes of what's making this situation even worse. Like i.e., for example, Brock Mission has been torn down to be renovated and built into something bigger and better, but it's been delayed because for whatever reason, council has delayed that. So it'd be great once on council to get that going. And also, just even the other day, we were at Brock, at One Room Diner and just talking to Kathy Williams. And the need is so great. They feed minimum 150 people each meal, and there's 2 meals a day. And so it's a very It's a very large task. And so people are saying, what, basically, what about us? Like, yes, we have this homelessness, but also there's a great need in the city for affordable housing. So we as a community, we have to look at everything because, like you said, there's not the revenue is what's in our coffers, right? We have a lot of public services that we have to address, i.e., transportation, roads, not hospitals, but our roads, our police stations, things like that. So there's a lot of money that needs to be raised, and all of this takes money, right? So for affordable housing, because we do have a crisis, like you mentioned, we have a growing population with a 1% vacancy rate. We need to do something about affordable housing. I noticed in the last conversation you had with the mayor here, he mentioned that the 700 homes being built in Ashburnham, the 3,000 to 4,000 homes that are being potentially to be built. My concern is there wasn't that word affordable. We have the average household price in Peterborough is $450,000, and the average income that I last checked was for a household is $42,000, which is below the provincial, I believe provincial or national average of 48. So we're building these expensive homes, and if you look around now, the homes that are being built are on the higher end of at least 400,000, and if you're bringing in 42,000 as a household income, you can't afford those houses. So we need to look at, one, building affordable housing, and two, how are we going to address the needs of those people who are marginalized on the streets? What I'm proposing is for affordable housing, the Canadian federal Liberals have proposed that $40.2 billion, the Canadian National Housing Strategy, to build affordable housing. Out of that, $4.2 billion is going to Ontario. Provincially, they don't build houses, at least as far as I know. It's a municipality. So I feel as on council, what I would do is say, we need to get some of that money and give it to grassroots levels that could build affordable homes for people, because not everyone, it's great to say that you're building all these homes, but at the end of the day, if you're looking at a $450,000 and your income is about $42,000, you're not going to afford it. So we need to get dollars for the affordable housing. And so that's one. And we need to look at building, we need to have a center. Carol Winter Place is a group of people working together to get to a Carol Winter place for people who are marginalized. There's also another group called the Working Place that also is working to get together something that will meet the needs of those people who are on the street. Because as it is now, when I talk to people in my ward, they are uncomfortable going downtown Peterborough because they say it's not safe. You have the panhandlers, you have people that they just do not feel safe in downtown Peterborough. And so we need to create a place that a one-room place, like a Carol Winter Place, that will cater to the addiction, the mental health problems that people are facing, the social issues, and really target that. Because if we in Peterborough are uncomfortable going downtown, then when people come to visit, that's what they're seeing. And so this is an issue. So, and just talking about the revenue base, right now, we get approximately, I think, around $280 million for collecting of taxes from people. And out of that, about 50% is towards, it comes from property taxes. So the people in my ward are saying property taxes are high, so something needs to be done. And I totally believe that the only way, one of the ways, there's different ways, but one of the ways that we can reduce that tax burden on the household people is by creating businesses. and not just we need to create more businesses. I feel that council should be actively involved with Peterborough economic development. And my initiative that I like to propose is called the Green Initiative, where we would work with Peterborough Economic Development and Green Up to promote green, environmentally friendly businesses and say, come to Peterborough. We are a bellwether town. Test your products here. Open shop. We're open for business. Reduce the red tape. Give them a tax incentive and come and open up business and really push businesses that are green, environmentally friendly, and say, and by getting more businesses, we create a bigger, broaden our tax base. So that is not just property owners. And we need to broaden our tax base because right now we're feeling it.
Yeah, and I know, I in the year and a half that I've been here in Peterborough this week, I've had a lot of conversations with Peterborough Economic Development, and I've gone to a lot of their showcases for small businesses, and there are some fascinating businesses there being produced by just some very energetic entrepreneurs. So what type of businesses should we be promoting growth and the creation of in our community? What kind of businesses should Peterborough be known for creating?
Well, that's a really good question. So let's say, for example, the casino, which it will generate jobs. That's why I feel to be on council, we need to think creatively and out of the box. The casino will generate jobs. It will bring in approximately in taxes about $1 million a year, which if you're doing this with your property tax is about 0.5 to 1% of the property's tax. But at the end of the day, building a casino is not necessarily it creates job, but it's not very creative thinking, right? So we need to connect with places like Trent University, Fleming College, and say look at some innovative ways to do business here.
And there is, if you look at Trent right now in development, there's the Clean Tech Commons, which is aiming to create a new business park around green and environmental tech companies as well. So stuff like that is in development.
Yes, and unfortunately with the green tech, they're building it on environmentally on a swamp. So that's very controversial as well. So that's even the other day I went to a meeting regarding that green tech, and environmentally it's not the best place to put that. But anyhow, yes, I know I'm aware of Trent doing that.
And that does pose an interesting question though, in terms of where do we develop? Because there's a lot of people who, especially in the Trent University area, who they don't want to see valuable green space get eaten up with development for development like the Green Tech, Clean Tech Commons, or this new aquatics facility that's being built. But at the same time, doesn't our city also have to grow? So what direction do we go?
Yeah, that's a really good question. They would have to look at what's available in Peterborough as far as property, vacant lands. I know that, for example, they're going to be, I'm not sure what they're going to do when they take down the North Crest Arena. I know that they're supposedly not going to be building another arena there because they're building at the Trent University. They're going to be doing that. So that is something that they're going to have to look at what's available. I also know that the transit, they want to move the Peterborough Transit, the workshop. So that's, that will be vacant, or they're going to move it somewhere else. They've yet to determine where that's going to be. But so they have to look around and be creative. And that's where I think that getting different people on council who will think out of the box. A lot of, for example, the homes that they're building right now, even they did a study, the homes that they're building right now, they mostly are low, they're, attached townhouses and or detached or semi-detached. They need to build up. right? That would get that will be able for people to live, more people in one space, not necessarily like a 10-story high rise.
Yeah.
But there needs a bit. I don't know when last have they built up. I know they're doing the old Y, converting it, but they need to look at using that space, not just little detached or semi or townhouses. They need to think about building up.
Yeah, and I know there was a design charrette where for 4 days they had some city planners from Toronto communicating with different organizations and community groups in Peterborough. And I attended for a very small period. I was probably there for an hour of a 4-day session. But just in that hour that I was there was a lot of talk about building up key areas, building up areas that currently aren't built up at the moment, and a lot of kind of sustainable upwards projects. And those all sound really fascinating. And there's a lot of redevelopment going on in the downtown as well, the Y Lofts being a good example.
Yes.
But the question is it going to meet all of our housing needs in the community? Do we have to be building subdivisions as well as building upwards in key areas like the downtown?
Yeah, we need to be building something, but it's how you're building the subdivision. So, for example, because of the fact that the Peterborough is getting a lot of money from property taxes. So, for example, in my ward, there's a Lily Lake development, which will build up 1,779 homes when it's all complete. Okay, but there's another smaller development that's just right beside the subdivision. And when I was doing my door-to-door, there was a household who has this small development. I don't remember the name. And she said originally when they were going to put in the development, they were going to build 100 homes on, I think, 50-foot lots or something to that. But they changed it to be putting now 150 homes instead of 100 to get more homes in that small space. So it's development, but how is it done? Is it allowing for community? Is it going to be these detached single homes that are very close together? Is it allowing for green space, open space, environmental? They could probably get more instead of having a little detached. They can build up, and that would give them more space to do other environmentally friendly things with it. So subdivisions are necessary, but it's how you do it, and is it affordable? You need to have something you need to do affordable. When I lived in Peterborough, when I lived in Sudbury, I love telling this story, but we moved and we're coming from Zimbabwe. We had 4 kids. I got a job full-time. My husband at the time couldn't get full-time work. So it was like a minimum wage job. And a little bit better than minimum wage. But it wasn't a lot of money for 4 kids and 6 people totally. Right?
Yeah.
Total. So someone called me and said that they had a 4-bedroom townhouse cluster. It was a clustered townhouse. It wasn't row. It was clustered. That was available. So I went to look, and then she said at the end of it was like perfect. Like I said, oh, this is great. But I was concerned because at the time when it was 1999. It was still quite expensive in Sudbury at the time. And then she said at the end, she goes, it's geared to income. And I'm like, wow. Yes, it was geared to income. So I was like, I signed that day. Like, where do I put my X? Like, I just signed because it was like geared to income. And then, so we stayed there. It was perfect. And then when he did get work, we had to pay market rate. So then after about a year of living there, I just was talking, it was new management. I was just talking to her and I said, wow, it was really great because I just came in, like someone called me and that day I'd come and boom, it's like geared to income. And you know what she told me? She said, actually, Charmaine, there was a 3 to 4 year waiting list. They couldn't find the list.
Really?
They misplaced it. That's how I got it. They misplaced the list. And I know that in Peterborough, the waiting list is tremendous.
Yes, I know the wait list for Peterborough for rent geared to income housing can be upwards of 10 years. So that is definitely an issue that we have to be dealing with. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about that in the second half. But do you want to take a short break?
Sure.
And we'll get right back into it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, perfect. Then we'll be right back.
Thank you.
So we're back on the Peter podcast, and we're going to be diving into a couple of Peterborough issues. We've already talked pretty extensively about housing.
Right.
So I think we can cross that one off the list. So let's continue to talk, particularly about transportation.
Okay.
And right now in Peterborough, in transportation-wise, there's kind of a debate going on right now. And there's some people who think that we have a transportation issue in Peterborough, and there's some people who don't think we have a transportation issue in Peterborough. And my stance on that is whether or not you think we have a transportation issue right now doesn't really matter, because we're expecting a wave of oncoming growth when this Highway 407 extension comes in. And if we don't have a transportation issue now, we certainly are going to. So what do you think we should be doing to improve transportation in the city?
Well, I know that they had made, I can't remember, I think 2016, there was a 100 recommendations. They did an extensive review on the transit system, and out of the 100 recommendations, 10 was put into place. And right now, I think it was 2016, right now, 0 of those recommendations are in place. I think they're due to do another review, but I believe that we could do those recommendations, especially the 10 that they did. One of the 10 that they did was, and it didn't go full force, was the getting from one end of the city to the other in 20 minutes. They just did one half of the city, but then the other half didn't get initiated, so the 20-minute didn't happen.
And there are suggestions, too, that I've heard that what we need to do is we need to get rid of the downtown bus terminal and decentralize transit from the downtown. And what that'll do is that you can then have circuits around the city, similar to what you would have in Toronto, so that you don't have to go downtown. Like if I want to get from your ward to, say, East City, I don't have to hop on a bus, get off at the bus terminal, hop on another bus and get to the bus terminal. I can just take a bus straight from Monaghan Ward over to East City.
Right.
So what are you a fan of in terms of doing stuff to improve transit, and more than just transit too? What about, vehicular traffic? Where do you see that as going?
What is that?
Like traffic, like cars and bikes and,
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we need to adapt the Vision Zero policies. For example, in New York, they adopted Vision Zero, which is to make the roads more safe for pedestrians, cyclists, and cars. Because right now in Peterborough, we have a higher than average in accidents for cyclists and pedestrians provincial-wide. So we need to look at how we're going to make our roads safer. And the Vision Zero is a policy that looks at how to make the roads for everybody. Because as it is now, like for example, my ward, you cannot really cycle from Monaghan Ward to the downtown core. The bike lanes are just not there. So it would be a revamping of the roads to make it safe for everybody, because I'm working with the Peterborough Bike Advisory Committee to adopt ways to make the city of Peterborough safe for everybody, not just for cars. Automatically, when people think transportation, they think cars, because we are a car society. But we need to take into consideration those who don't have cars, who do take transit, who do take who walk, who are in wheelchairs, who cycle, and make our roads safer.
So if you put in an improved network of infrastructure for cyclists, what does that then do to the amount of vehicular traffic on the road?
Well, I would hope that it would reduce the amount of cars that are on the road. We are, even though we're not there's not a lot of people, it seems, because I drive everywhere. Like, I'm a driver, but I do 100% spend time on my bike, and I do cycle when I can. So Peterborough is not big cyclists, so hopefully if people see that there is more safety barriers that would divide the cyclists from cars, if they see that that's being creative, we will we will bring more people to be on bicycles, reducing traffic on our roads. I would love for more people to be on bikes. It's a cheaper way to get around. I would love to see, but they need to feel that they're safe. If they're just exposing, like driving your bike, I've driven on Lansdowne. It's not the safest place, right?
So what is your stance on the Parkway, that contentious north-south corridor that has been on the books for, 70 years now?
Yeah, a long time. I would love to see an alternative to the Parkway. If you think about it, the Parkway supposedly is supposed to reduce the traffic from north to south by 3 to 5 minutes. And to be putting something that massive in the Jackson Park, a bridge, and it's just, I live really, really close to Jackson Park, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the open space. I enjoy the walking, the cycling, everything in Jackson Park. And I can't imagine putting a massive concrete $1 million structure in there. The ecosystem, everything would be affected. And so for just to get to one place to another, reduce your speed, the time for 3 to 5 minutes. So I would prefer definitely to have an alternative to the Parkway.
Would your opinion on the Parkway change if definitively the bridge over Jackson Park was taken out of the equation?
I believe that's part of being the Parkway. What I would like to see, I'm not too sure about that. I've never seen what's being proposed. It would be a bridge in the Parkway.
Okay.
So I'm not feeling, but like doing a road around the city or something, a ring around that would accommodate for cyclists, and you could get from one end the other, from the north to south, in that way.
Okay. So a ring road is something that has been proposed, and mayoral candidate Diane Tarian is a big fan of a ring road as well. I think, definitely we're on a bit of a time limit for figuring out our transportation solutions in Peterborough, and that time limit is in the 2019-2020 phase, when that 407 extension is going to be coming, and we need to figure out where we're going to be moving people, and where they're going to be living too is the other half of that question.
And even if you think of the Lily Lake development, which will have quite a massive housing development, they will definitely have to look at infrastructure, because as it is now, it's 2 lanes going back and forth. So that will have to be redone. And so that whole area.
Okay. So moving on from transportation then, I want to hear your thoughts on the PDI sale. I know the PDI sale already it's kind of in the late stages where it's being sent off for approval.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's much that the city can do at this point if it wanted to stop the sale, but for the public's sake, I'm sure there are probably some people who are very curious about what your thoughts are on the PDI sale.
That's a really good question. So I feel the PDI, the sale of PDI is civic engagement gone wrong.
Well, that's an interesting angle.
Yes, civic engagement gone wrong, because they had as far as I could see, the most community engagement. They called it Talk PDI, where they had 15 community engagement. They had over 900 comments at the engagement. They had a total of 777 people attending. That's like that's like 1% of the population. QP did a poll in 2016 where the people they polled, 93% said they didn't want the sale of PDI, and all of that brought the sale in. So civic engagement gone wrong, because the people that were going to these meetings, and I went to at least one of them because there was a total of 15, they were like 95% of them were all saying do not sell. So here we have the people in the community saying don't sell, and honestly, it was a waste of time, because they were saying don't sell, and at the end they sold. So I feel as a counselor, you need to you need to listen to what the people are saying in the city. So and personally, I feel that by selling BTI, it's like selling the family jewel.
Yeah.
Short-term gain for long-term pain. So I I can't believe that people are now shareholders are going to be benefiting off of people who may not be able to buy these shares and basically profit from something that everybody needs.
So I've talked to a couple of candidates. I've talked to many candidates now about the PDI sale. A few of them have been people who voted in favor of selling. A few of them are people who, they're new candidates, but they say they would have supported the sale. And what's common between them is that they say that there was significant public engagement, but it wasn't necessarily a case of not listening as it was listening and simply disagreeing. That you're allowed to listen and engage with your constituents, but you're also allowed to disagree with them. And that's the case of what happened, where there was public consultation. There were meetings with, dozens upon dozens upon dozens of delegations. But at the end of the day, 6 out of...
It's 6 out of 5.
Yeah, 6 out of it was a 6-5 vote. And 6 out of 11 councillors said that they disagreed with the majority of those comments at those meetings. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, another thing that happened with the PDIA was there were meetings that were considered secret meetings that only council knew, had supposedly all of the details of the sale, which was, they didn't want to talk about that. So it wasn't really very, how would you say it?
Wasn't a transparent process?
It wasn't a transparent process. And the whole thing too, just that whole process took about $1 million just to do that sale. So what I felt was that I just thought it was going through the motions, because at the end of the day, they knew the people who were going to sell were going to sell, right? So I felt it was like, yes, you can say whatever you want, but I'm not really that tuned into what you're saying. So kind of like a deaf ear to the conversation.
So what is a city councilor's job? Should a city councilor listen to their constituents and vote the way that they tell them to vote? Or should a city councilor look at the information and the public might tell them to make a certain decision, but the information at hand tells them to do something else? What is the balance between listening to the public and listening to the information that you have at hand that says that this is a good idea or this is a good idea to sell?
That's a really good, excellent example, because, for example, in New York, when they did they adopted the Vision Zero policy, they did have, in the ward, they had meetings, and they said, this is what we want to do. We want to do the Vision Zero. We want to make more availability for cyclists to cycle and create a safer space for everybody. And I think most of the people in the ward said, holy no way, like, we're not doing that. We don't want to do this. And it was political will. The mayor said, yes, we are doing it because we need the safety of our people comes first. They had the statistics, and that was the one thing. They had the statistics to say, this is how many people are suffering because of the way the roads are structured. And so he went against the will of people. And in the end, it was since they redid that section, there's been 0 pedestrians killing. And before that, they've had, they've had on a regular basis. I can't remember the number, but people would die. So yes, they said, even though you guys said no, but we're thinking of the safety of the city, right? So that's the whole thing.
And just to relay that example a little bit closer to home, I know in Toronto there was I think it was the Yonge Street bike lane project, where they had a pilot project to see if bike lanes would work on Yonge Street, and there was significant pushback to that as well, but they kind of fell through on that, and from what I gather, they got some pretty significant data on what bike lanes are able to do to prevent cyclist accidents from happening. So I guess the question still looms of what is a city councilor's job, and if elected, how are you going to represent the people in your ward? And not just the people in your ward too, but you're elected to represent a lot of people in the city.
Yeah, it's a Monaghan Ward. So I feel that councilors should have a vision for what they want the city to look like in the 4 years from now, right? So for myself, I would see that creating a sustainable economic, environmentally economic businesses. You're going to be investing in the environment. That's really important. And by investing in the environment, you're investing in your children in the future. So what I would, as a counselor, I feel that we need to really get out and say, have more green businesses initiatives. Definitely promote more jobs, because if we have more jobs, our young people are going to stay. Right now, we had PCVS closing because there wasn't enough students. So we need to keep our young families, and the only way to do that is by having the jobs. So we need to actively market Peterborough as a place to do business. We are open for business. We reduce the red tape, so that more business, more young people. By doing that, you have more money in our coffers to do more community things, i.e. build the Carol Winter Place, working place, so that we could take care of those people who are marginalized, who are struggling with mental health issues, who are struggling with drug addictions. We need to talk about the hard issues of racism. We need to get diverse voices, not just have one sector of the side of our Peterborough community saying this is what we want. We need to get more people of color, women on our council that will give a different view as to how we want the city to be done. So
okay. We're just about to run out of time. So, Charmaine, is there any other messages that you want to get out there, or anything that you want to add that we maybe forgot to mention?
I'd like to just say on October 22nd, vote for Charmaine Magumbe for councillor for Monaghan Ward, and I need all the support I could get. I'm definitely coming in as an underdog, first time as a politician. So I need your support. I need volunteers, need donations, I need people to put up lawn signs. So yeah. All
right.
Okay.
Charmaine, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And to everybody else, we'll be back with another candidate next week.
Thank you.